The thing about being underestimated your entire life is that you learn to stay quiet. You learn to observe. You learn that sometimes the most powerful move is simply watching people reveal exactly who they are. I'm Marcus Chin, 31 years old, and I've been the family disappointment for as long as I can remember. While my sister Jennifer climbed the corporate ladder at her tech startup, landing promotions and posting about her executive lifestyle on social media, I supposedly struggled through various entry-level government jobs that my family barely understood and certainly didn't respect. Still pushing papers at that boring office? Dad would ask at family gatherings, barely hiding his disappointment. Marcus works for some federal agency, Mom would explain to relatives with an apologetic shrug. Something with banking regulations. We don't really understand it. Jennifer, 3 years older, never missed an opportunity to remind everyone of the gap between us. I just closed a $3 million deal, she'd announce at Sunday dinners. Meanwhile, Marcus is probably filing paperwork for his $60,000 government salary. The family would laugh. I'd smile and change the subject. What they didn't know, what I couldn't tell them due to the nature of my work, was that I was a senior special agent with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, a division of the U.S. Treasury Department. My boring government job involved investigating complex financial fraud, money laundering operations, and identity theft rings that moved hundreds of millions of dollars. My security clearance was higher than most people knew existed. My cases had taken down international criminal organizations. My testimony had sent dozens of fraudsters to federal prison. But I drove a modest Honda, lived in a small apartment in Arlington, and wore suits from Macy's. The work required discretion. High-profile wealth attracted attention, and attention compromised investigations. So I let my family think I was boring, unsuccessful Marcus who couldn't compete with brilliant Jennifer. It had been manageable until about 6 months ago, when Jennifer's behavior started changing. She'd always been competitive, but there was a new edge to her cruelty. An urgency. "Mom, don't lend Marcus any money," she'd warned loudly at Easter dinner. "He's terrible with finances. Always has been. Remember when you couldn't even get approved for that credit card?" She'd laughed at my nephew's birthday party. "Some of us are just better with money." I'd noticed other things too. Jennifer had bought a new luxury SUV. Designer handbags appeared regularly on her Instagram. She'd mentioned expanding her investment portfolio and diversifying her assets. For someone who'd complained about student loans just a year ago, she seemed to have found a significant cash infusion. But I'd been deep in a major investigation, a cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme affecting thousands of victims, and didn't have the mental bandwidth to analyze my sister's finances. I figured she'd gotten a promotion or a bonus. I should have paid closer attention. The text came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was in a briefing about a multi-state identity theft ring we'd been tracking for 8 months. "Mom, family dinner this Sunday. Your father has an announcement. Be there." I almost canceled. Sundays were my only day off, and spending them enduring Jennifer's commentary on my failed career wasn't exactly relaxing. But Dad's announcements were usually significant. Retirements, health updates, major family decisions. I texted back, "I'll be there." Sunday dinner at my parents' house in Bethesda was the same elaborate production it had always been. Mom's dining room table seated 12, and she used every inch of it. The good china, the crystal glasses, the linen napkins that required special laundering. Jennifer arrived in her new Mercedes SUV. A GLE 450, I noted, around $75,000, wearing what looked like a Burberry coat. She air-kissed Mom and immediately started talking about her latest business victory. "The board approved my proposal," she announced, pouring herself wine. "I'm basically running the entire East Coast operations now." "That's wonderful, honey," Mom beamed. "Marcus, did you hear? Your sister is running the entire East Coast." "Congratulations," I said, taking my usual seat at the far end of the table. Dad cleared his throat. "Before we eat, I want to share some news. Your mother and I have decided to update our estate plan." Jennifer's eyes sharpened with interest. "We're getting older," Dad continued, "and we want to make sure everything is properly organized. We've been working with our attorney to restructure our assets, set up trusts, ensure everything is fair." "Fair is important," Jennifer said quickly, "though obviously contributions should be considered." Some of us have been more successful than others. The comment hung in the air. I said nothing. We're splitting everything equally, Mom said firmly. But there are some financial considerations we need to discuss. Medical expenses, long-term care insurance, that sort of thing. Dinner proceeded with its usual dynamics. Jennifer dominated the conversation with stories about her company, her deals, her executive decisions. My uncle asked polite questions. My aunt made impressed sounds. I ate quietly, responded when spoken to, and thought about the cryptocurrency case. We were close to making arrests. Then, as Mom was serving dessert, Jennifer's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smiled, and looked directly at me. Actually, she said, voice dripping with satisfaction, speaking of financial success and responsibility, I have something to share. The table went quiet. Marcus, she continued, I want to thank you for being such an inspiration. I looked up. Her smile was predatory. You inspired me to take control of my finances, to make bold moves, to not let anything hold me back. She paused dramatically. So I used your identity to secure an $85,000 personal loan. The approval came through last month. The words didn't immediately register. I stared at her. What? I said quietly. An $85,000 loan, she repeated, clearly enjoying herself. In your name. Your credit was actually better than I expected. All those years of living like a boring government employee paid off. The bank approved it immediately. Jennifer, Dad said slowly, what are you talking about? Oh, don't worry, she waved dismissively. I'm making the payments. Well, most of them. Marcus won't even notice. It's not like he checks his credit reports. She laughed. He probably doesn't even know how. My aunt gasped. My uncle looked confused. You committed identity theft, I said, my voice perfectly calm. You fraudulently obtained a loan using my personal information. Identity theft? Jennifer laughed harder. It's not theft when it's family. I needed the capital for an investment opportunity, and your credit was just sitting there unused. I'm actually doing you a favor, building your credit history. That's illegal, I said. What are you going to do about it? She leaned back in her chair, supremely confident. Report your own sister? Take me to court? You can't even afford a lawyer on your government salary. Mom laughed nervously. Marcus can't afford legal fees. Jennifer, honey, maybe you should have asked first, but... Asked. Jennifer interrupted. Why? He would have said no and the opportunity would have passed. This is what successful people do, Marcus. We make bold moves. We don't wait for permission. You forged my signature, I said, still calm. You falsified loan documents. You committed federal banking fraud. Federal banking fraud, Jennifer mocked. Listen to you with your big government words. This is a family matter. And frankly, I'm contributing more to this family's success than you ever have. Consider it a family loan that I took the initiative to arrange. Without his consent, my uncle said quietly. Jennifer, It's smart, she cut him off. It's resourceful. It's what winners do. She looked at me. What are you going to do about it, Marcus? Cry to Mom and Dad? They can't help you. File a police report? You'd have to prove I did it, and I was very careful. She pulled out her phone and showed the table a screenshot. See? The loan is in Marcus's name, but the funds went to my investment account. Completely traceable to legitimate business purposes. I even have documents showing Marcus agreed to co-sign. She smiled. Documents with a signature that matches his perfectly. You forged government documents, I said quietly. I created opportunity, she corrected. Something you've never understood. You've spent your whole life playing it safe, following rules, staying small. I take risks. I make things happen. And yes, sometimes that means being creative with resources. Dad was pale. Jennifer, if you needed money. I didn't need charity, she snapped. I needed capital. And Marcus's credit was available. It's not like he was using it for anything important. He turned to me. When was the last time you even checked your credit score? Do you even know how to access your credit report? The truth was, I checked my credit reports weekly. Part of my job involved understanding how identity thieves operated, which meant monitoring my own information obsessively. I'd seen the inquiry from Jennifer's bank 3 weeks ago. I'd seen the loan approval. I'd watched the entire fraud unfold in real time. And I'd been building a case. What can you do about it? Jennifer pressed. Seriously, Marcus. You can't afford a lawyer. You can't prove anything. And even if you could, are you really going to send your own sister to court over a loan she's making payments on? Some of the payments, I corrected quietly. She blinked. What? You said you're making most of the payments, which means you've already missed some. The bank has sent 3 late payment notices to my address. I have them all. Her confidence flickered. You're bluffing. The first missed payment was 6 weeks ago. The second was 3 weeks ago. The third arrived yesterday. Kept my voice level. Each missed payment damages my credit score. Each one creates a paper trail of fraud. It's not fraud, she insisted, but uncertainty crept into her voice. What can I do about it? I repeated her question. That's interesting phrasing. I pulled out my phone. The table watched as I typed a brief message. Initiate fraud investigation. Target confirmed. Location: 4821 Brookside Drive, Bethesda, Maryland. Multiple witnesses present. Subject has confessed to federal banking fraud, identity theft, and document forgery. I hit send. Who are you texting? Jennifer demanded. Hi team, I said simply. Your team. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Your boring office colleagues? What are they going to do, file a complaint? Not exactly, I said. My phone buzzed. Response from Deputy Director Karen Martinez. Units dispatching. 88 minutes. Recording authorization confirmed. Marcus, Mom said nervously, what's going on? I need to read you your rights, Jennifer, I said calmly. She stared at me. My rights. You have the right to remain silent, I began. Stop it, she snapped. This isn't funny. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Marcus, stop playing games. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. I don't need a fucking attorney. Jennifer shouted. You're not a cop. You're right, I said. I'm not a police officer. I reached into my jacket and pulled out my credentials. Federal badge on one side, identification on the other. I'm Senior Special Agent Marcus Chen, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, U.S. Treasury Department. I specialize in banking fraud, identity theft, and financial crimes investigations. The room went completely silent. Jennifer's face drained of color. That's not, you work a desk job. I investigate complex financial fraud, I continued. My current caseload includes a multi-state identity theft ring, a cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme, and as of 3 weeks ago, a personal case involving my own stolen identity. Dad stood up slowly. Marcus, you're a federal agent? For 7 years, I confirmed. I couldn't tell you due to the sensitive nature of my investigations. My position requires discretion. But you said we thought, Mom stammered. You thought I was a low-level government clerk, I finished. Which was safer for everyone. High-profile wealth attracts attention. Attention compromises investigations. So I lived modestly and let you believe I was unsuccessful. Jennifer was shaking. You can't arrest me. I'm your sister. That's exactly why I can arrest you, I said. You committed federal crimes. You stole my identity. You defrauded a federally insured banking institution. You forged documents. And you did it all while knowing I work for the government, which adds additional charges. I didn't know you were. You knew I worked for a federal agency, I interrupted. You used that information to assume I was powerless. You assumed wrong. Outside, I heard vehicles approaching. Multiple vehicles. Marcus, please, Jennifer's voice cracked. I'll pay it back. I'll cancel the loan. We can fix this. You've made 3 late payments, I said. The bank has already reported it to credit bureaus. The damage is done. And more importantly, you committed federal crimes. That doesn't disappear because we're related. But I'm your sister. Which makes it worse, I said quietly. You targeted a federal agent. You used family access to commit fraud. Those are aggravating factors, not excuses. The doorbell rang. Dad walked to the door in a daze and opened it. 6 FBI agents stood on the porch, led by Deputy Director Martinez herself. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, wearing a windbreaker with FBI in large yellow letters. Agent Chen, she nodded to me. Subject present? Seated at the table, I confirmed. She's been read her rights. She's made multiple incriminating statements in front of witnesses. Jennifer stood up, panicking. This is insane. Marcus, tell them this is a mistake. Jennifer Marie Chin, Deputy Director Martinez said formally, you are under arrest for federal banking fraud, identity theft, document forgery, and wire fraud. You have the right to remain silent. I know my fucking rights. Jennifer screamed. Marcus, do something. I am doing something, I said calmly. I'm prosecuting a federal case. 2 agents moved to handcuff Jennifer. She struggled, screaming about family loyalty and betrayal and how I was ruining her life. Agent Chin, Martinez said quietly, we'll need statements from everyone present. Your family witnessed the confession. Multiple confessions, I confirmed. She detailed the entire fraud, admitted to forging documents and acknowledged missed payments. Mom was crying. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. My uncle spoke up, his voice steady. I heard everything. She confessed to identity theft and fraud. She was bragging about it. Same, my aunt added. She seemed proud of what she'd done. Martinez nodded. We'll need those statements officially. And Agent Chin, given the personal nature of this case, you'll need to recuse yourself from the investigation. Understood, I said. I've documented everything. The case file is ready for transfer. Jennifer was still screaming as they led her outside. You're supposed to protect me. You're my brother. How can you do this to family? You did this to yourself, I said quietly. I just documented it. The FBI vehicles pulled away, Jennifer visible in the back of one, still shouting. The neighbors had come outside. Someone was filming. Inside, my parents sat in stunned silence. Marcus, Mom finally said, how long have you been a federal agent? 7 years, I repeated. Since I was 24. I was recruited during college by the Treasury Department. They wanted someone with my financial analysis background and language skills. Language skills? Dad asked weakly. I speak Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean fluently, I said. Useful for international financial crimes. You knew I studied languages, you just didn't know why. We thought it was a hobby, Mom whispered. It was training, I corrected. For complex investigations involving international fraud networks. But you live in that small apartment, Dad said. You drive that old car. Part of my cover, I explained. Federal agents investigating financial crimes can't appear wealthy. It compromises our ability to work undercover, to blend in, to be underestimated. I paused. Being underestimated is actually a significant advantage in my work. Jennifer said you couldn't afford a lawyer, Mom said. I have an entire legal department at my disposal, I said. The U.S. Attorney's Office handles my cases. I also have connections with the FBI, Secret Service, IRS criminal investigation, and Homeland Security investigations. I looked at my parents. I couldn't afford a lawyer because I don't need one. I work with the people who prosecute the lawyers. My uncle spoke carefully. Marcus, what happens now? Jennifer will be processed at the FBI field office, I said. She'll be formally charged with multiple federal crimes. Given the dollar amount, $85,000, and the interstate nature of the fraud, she's looking at significant federal prison time. Prison? Mom gasped. Federal sentencing guidelines for identity theft and banking fraud are strict, I explained. She'll likely face 5 to 7 years minimum, possibly more given the aggravating factors. What aggravating factors? She targeted a federal agent. She used family access to commit the crime. She showed no remorse, in fact she bragged about it. She attempted to justify criminal behavior. And she's already defaulted on the payments, which demonstrates intent to defraud. Dad put his head in his hands. Can you help her? No, I said simply. I can't interfere with a federal investigation. And honestly I wouldn't. She committed serious crimes. She needs to face consequences. But she's your sister, Mom pleaded. Which makes it worse, I said again. She had family access to my personal information. She exploited that trust. She deliberately targeted me because she thought I was powerless. That's not a mistake, That's calculated predatory behavior. My phone buzzed. Text from Martinez. Subject lawyered up. Requesting personal effects search. Need family consent or warrant. I looked at my parents. The FBI wants to search Jennifer's room here. They can get a warrant or you can consent. What are they looking for? Dad asked. Evidence of other frauds, I said. If she did this to me, she's probably done it to others. They'll be looking for documents, account statements, other people's personal information. Mom nodded slowly. Search it. 20 minutes later, 2 FBI agents were photographing Jennifer's childhood bedroom, now her guest room when she visited. They found a locked file box in her closet. Agent Chin, one of them, called. You need to see this. Inside the box were credit card statements in multiple names, applications for loans, copies of driver's licenses and social security cards. That's Dad's information, I said quietly, pointing to one set. And Mom's. And Uncle Ray's. My uncle went pale. She stole my identity too? The agent bagged everything carefully. We'll need to notify these victims and open additional investigations. How many people? Dad asked weakly. At least 6 from what we're seeing here, the agent said. Could be more. Mom was crying harder now. Our own daughter. Your daughter is a serial identity thief, I said gently. She's been running a fraud operation targeting her own family. She chose me first because she thought I couldn't fight back. But her job, Dad said. Her company, her success. Probably bought with stolen money, I said. They'll audit her finances. If she's been living beyond her means, they'll trace every dollar. My phone rang. Martinez. Agent Chin, subject is requesting to speak with you. Says she wants to make a deal. No deals, I said immediately. She confessed to federal crimes in front of witnesses. She showed no remorse. She targeted a federal agent and multiple family members. There's nothing to negotiate. Understood. Her attorney is pushing back, but we have solid evidence. The loan documents alone prove forgery. Combined with her recorded confession and the evidence from her residence, this is airtight. Timeline for charges? U.S. Attorney wants to move fast. Formal indictment by Wednesday. Arraignment by Friday. Given the evidence, they're not offering bail. She's a serial fraudster with access to sophisticated financial knowledge. Flight risk. I hung up and looked at my parents. Jennifer will be formally charged on Wednesday. The U.S. Attorney's Office is handling the prosecution. She won't get bail. She'll be in jail until trial? Mom whispered. Federal Detention Center, I corrected. And yes, she's committed multiple federal crimes and has access to financial resources. They can't risk her fleeing. Dad stood slowly. Marcus, I don't understand. Why did you wait? You said you knew 3 weeks ago. Why didn't you stop her immediately? I needed evidence, I said. Identity theft cases require proof of intent. I had to demonstrate that she knowingly committed fraud, that she understood it was illegal, and that she planned to continue the crime. You were investigating your own sister, he said. I was doing my job, I corrected. When I saw the loan inquiry, I opened a case file. I documented everything. I waited for her to act, to miss payments, to make incriminating statements, to demonstrate criminal intent. You let her keep stealing, Uncle Ray said quietly. I let her finish building her own case, I said. Every missed payment, every forged document, every dollar spent added to the charges. If I'd stopped her immediately, she could have claimed it was a mistake, a miscommunication. By waiting, I let her prove it was deliberate, ongoing fraud. That's cold, my aunt said. That's prosecution, I replied. Emotions don't convict criminals. Evidence does. My phone buzzed with another message. This one from the forensic accounting team. Initial audit shows $340,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards across 6 victims. Subject's legitimate income, $95,000 annually. Lifestyle expenses, $180,000 plus. Gap funded entirely by fraud. I showed my parents the message. She's been living a complete lie, Mom said softly. The luxury car, the designer clothes, the expensive dinners, all stolen. All borrowed against other people's identities, I confirmed. She built an entire lifestyle on fraud. How long? Dad asked. We'll know more after the full investigation, but probably 2 to 3 years, I said. That's when her spending patterns changed dramatically. And we never noticed, Mom whispered. She was careful, I said. She targeted family members she thought wouldn't check their credit reports regularly. She kept the loan amounts below thresholds that would trigger automatic investigations. She made enough payments to avoid immediate default. It was sophisticated fraud. But she got caught, Uncle Ray said. Because she got greedy, I said. And because she targeted someone who actually understood financial crimes. I looked at my parents. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry your daughter is going to federal prison. But she made choices. She committed crimes. She hurt people. People? Dad asked. Who else? The bank lost money when she defaulted. Other identity theft victims will spend years cleaning up their credit. The financial system itself is damaged when people commit fraud. These aren't victimless crimes. The FBI agents finished their search and left with boxes of evidence. My family sat in the wreckage of dinner, dessert still sitting on the table, barely touched. What happens now? Mom asked. The investigation continues, I said. The FBI will interview all the victims, audit all of Jennifer's accounts, trace every fraudulent transaction. The U.S. attorney will build the prosecution. Jennifer will get a court-appointed attorney if she can't afford one, which she probably can't since her assets will be frozen. Frozen? Proceeds of criminal activity, I explained. Everything she bought with stolen money can be seized. The car, the jewelry, the investments, all of it. She'll have nothing, Dad said. She'll have what she earned legitimately, I corrected. Which isn't much. Most of her lifestyle was funded by fraud. My phone rang again. This time a number I didn't recognize. Agent Chin. This is Attorney David Morrison representing Jennifer Chin. My client would like to speak with you about a possible resolution. There's nothing to resolve, I said. Your client confessed to multiple federal crimes in front of 6 witnesses. She's being prosecuted. She's your sister, he said. Surely there's room for family consideration. I'm a federal agent, I interrupted. Family consideration doesn't apply to criminal prosecution. Your client committed serious crimes. She'll face serious consequences. She's willing to pay restitution. That doesn't eliminate federal charges, I said. Bank fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, document forgery. These are prosecutable offenses regardless of restitution. We can argue it was a family misunderstanding. We have recorded confessions, I said flatly. Your client bragged about committing fraud. She detailed her methods. She showed no remorse. There's no misunderstanding. Silence on the other end. Mr. Morrison, your client is facing 5 to 7 years minimum in federal prison. That's the reality. I suggest you prepare her for that instead of wasting time on negotiations that won't happen. I hung up. Dad was staring at me. You really won't help her. I really won't compromise a federal investigation, I said. Would you want me to? Would you want federal agents to ignore crimes because they know the criminal? He didn't answer. Jennifer made choices, I continued. She chose to steal identities. She chose to forge documents. She chose to commit fraud. She chose to target her own family because she thought we were safe, easy marks. I paused. She chose wrong. She's going to prison, Mom said as if the reality was finally sinking in. Yes, I confirmed. For a long time. Because of you. Because of her crimes, I corrected firmly. I documented evidence. I followed protocol. I protected other potential victims. Jennifer is going to prison because she committed federal crimes, not because I reported them. My uncle cleared his throat. Marcus, I need to check my credit reports. If she stole my information. She did, I said. The FBI found applications in your name. You'll need to file reports with the credit bureaus, place fraud alerts, possibly freeze your credit. The FBI Victim Assistance Coordinator will help you through the process. And your parents? My aunt asked quietly. Same, I said. Everyone she targeted will need to take protective measures. Dad looked broken. Our daughter destroyed our family. Your daughter is a criminal, I said not unkindly. That's different from who you thought she was, but it's who she chose to be. The evening ended with FBI business cards, victim assistance hotline numbers, and the hollow feeling of a family fractured beyond repair. As I drove home to my modest apartment, my phone buzzed with updates. Jennifer's formal charges. The evidence inventory. The prosecutor's initial assessment. It was a solid case. Airtight. She'd built her own prison with every fraudulent transaction. 3 days later, Jennifer Chin was formally indicted on 14 counts of federal fraud, identity theft, and related crimes. The U.S. attorney requested no bail, citing her as a sophisticated financial criminal with means and motive to flee. The judge agreed. Jennifer would remain in federal detention until trial. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Jennifer's own confessions, caught on my phone's voice recorder with proper authorization. The forged documents. The stolen identities. The spending patterns that proved deliberate, ongoing fraud. She was convicted on all counts. Sentencing came 3 months later. Jennifer Marie Chin, the judge said, looking stern, you have been convicted of serious federal crimes. You targeted your own family members, people who trusted you, and exploited that trust for financial gain. You showed no remorse. In fact, you bragged about your crimes. You believed you were above consequences. Jennifer stood, wearing an orange jumpsuit, her expensive haircut grown out and unkempt. You were wrong, the judge continued. This court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You will also pay restitution totaling $340,000 to your victims, and all assets purchased with fraudulent funds will be seized and liquidated. Mom sobbed in the gallery. Dad sat stone-faced. I sat in the back, watching justice unfold exactly as it should. 8 years. Jennifer would be 39 when she was released. Her career destroyed. Her reputation ruined. Her freedom gone. All because she thought her boring, unsuccessful brother couldn't fight back. As I left the courthouse, my phone buzzed. Message from Deputy Director Martinez. Excellent work on the Chin case. Your documentation was flawless. The U.S. attorney was impressed. This will reflect well in your performance review. I texted back, just doing my job. Because that's what it was. Not revenge. Not family drama. Just a federal agent investigating financial crimes and protecting victims. Even when the criminal was my sister. Especially when the criminal was my sister.